All right, hey everybody. Today I'm here with Meghan Rice. She's a fifth year PhD student at K-State and she does organic synthesis and she's in the Rafferty group. Meghan, thanks for being here with me today.
Thanks for having me.
We're really happy to have you here. Glad to have another organic chemist on here. I think you're only the second one. The other one was Dr. Logan Fisher. He teaches at Grand Canyon, or not at Grand Canyon, I'm sorry, Grand View.
Cool.
Um, all right. So, like, obviously just introduce you everybody. Can you give a quick little background on yourself, you know?
Yeah, so obviously I'm Megan. I'm originally from Minnesota, born and raised there. I did my undergrad at Luther College. I double majored in chemistry and math there, and I knew I wanted to go on to grad school. So during my time at Luther, I did an REU, and that was here at K State. So that's how I got introduced to the K State family and research and everything. And I really liked it. And all the professors, I thought they were all super encouraging and welcoming and thought it was a good fit. So I ended up going there for grad school too. And so, yeah, going into my fifth year. I do what's called total synthesis. There's lots of different molecules in fungus, trees, bacteria, venom from animals, you name it. And some of them have some really cool, interesting properties that we want to study further. And, we can't really chop down an entire forest to save one person. That's not ethical in a lot of ways for sustainability and everything. So, as organic chemists, we try to figure out how we can make those molecules using the building blocks that we have. So, I'm working on doing the total synthesis of a molecule called balgacyclamide C. We don't know the biological activity of C itself, but the other members in the family are have sorry, they have biological activity towards a malaria strain, and we also know that it can enter into the cancer cells, but it doesn't do a whole great job of killing them. And so we envision that we can use it as a drug delivery vehicle system, kind of like a Trojan horse, if you will, so that we can have the natural product attach a drug onto it. It can enter into the cancer cell and kind of like masks that anti-cancer drug that will kill it off. So yeah.
Mhm. Well, that's a great introduction, and you kind of already got into the next question, which was basically like, what kind of science do you do? So you already went right in that. You beat me to it. So that was a
Sorry.
great introduction. No, it's fine. That's perfect. So I actually have some questions, I guess, about the research more specifically. So you said these are anti-malaria, or they can have anti-malarial properties. How does that work? I guess how does it like? What is it? 'Cause malaria is what, a parasite, right? It's not like a bacteria, or is it?
Yeah. It's a parasite, yeah. And it's like with like mosquitoes carry it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this specific strain is that it's active against is called Plasmodium falciparum K1, which is actually one of the more deadly malaria strains. So we could use this as a malaria probably drug as well, but there's already a lot of those out there. So
Yeah. No, I'm familiar. I had to take like on my deployment, we took like doxycycline for anti-malarial. I was gonna say like, how does it compare to that, or are they totally different? I guess was malaria. I was always surprised. It was like it's an antibiotic, but it also is like somehow a malaria prophylactic or something.
yeah,
I don't know if that's in your purview enough.
not a whole lot.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But I wonder if that's because I know doxy doesn't prevent against like one or two strains of malaria, and I wonder
Mhm.
if that's the one that your thing works against. So then
Ye-
I have a question about, so you're saying like Trojan horsing it in. Is your, and tell me as much as you can tell me as much as you can without, I don't want you to give anything away that's like in an unpublished paper. But is your idea to kind of like almost like encapsulate it, like use it as like an encapsulating molecule almost, or is it you're trying to like attach the functionality that then somehow when it gets into the cell, it like a bond is cleaved and then it's in the active drug form?
Yeah, so kind of like the second option.
Hmm.
So there's a couple different like handles that we envision we could use on the molecule itself to then like, conjugate the drug on. Or once we finish the total synthesis, then we can replace like some of the amino acids. Like, for example, we can put cysteine in there instead and then have like a disulfide linkage. And then that
Hmm.
could cleave to within the cell and then let the drug go through its active form.
Oh, okay. That's good. Yeah, because I was thinking, I feel like, those like drug micelles get a lot of attention,
Yeah.
but that's not always the best way to do things. I always thought of like the whole concept of like a bond that is degradable only when you want it to be a very interesting. And
Hmm.
so I did like more polymer work. Well, not more polymer, a lot of polymer work, but I didn't get into it. But I know there's people like adjacent to me at A&M. They did like those degradable on-demand polymers.
Hmm.
So they would be like good, have the mechanical strength, all the things you need. But then when you wanted to at a time of your choosing, you could like disappear it. So
Yeah,
I just
that's
that whole concept that you guys can build, a drug like delivery system that only degrades when you want it to is really
mhm,
cool. And I was talking to a guy. Oh, I've turned my light on here. Sorry. A couple weeks ago, Cal's really he does inorganic chemistry, but he was just saying he finds it so fascinating how like organic chemists think this way. Like all these, you'll see like some of these syntheses with like multiple protecting groups, and
mhm.
just how I'm sure you can attest this as an organic chemist. When you the first time you learn organic chemistry, like in lecture on paper, it seems just like so easy and interesting, and then you get in the lab, you're like, wow, this is like actually way harder. They really buried the lead on this one.
Yeah, I participated in we have like what's called K grad here, and so you get to like present your research to people that are like way outside your field. And so I did that, and someone asked me if that like I thought AI could like predict a route on how to make a molecule, basically, like eliminating my job. And I was like, I don't ever think so because, organic chemistry seems so easy on paper. Like you can say, oh, yeah, this protecting group will go on, no problem. You can go through your route and then you can take that group off and then you can add this and blah, blah, blah. But you get into the lab and you could try it and it just fails miserably. And you're like, what the heck? And sometimes you get like random like side reactions that happen and you get products you never expected, and
Mhm.
then they're looking at the NMR like what just happened. So that's why I feel like even though like AI is like becoming this huge thing now, I feel like it'll never take over like a chemist's job because yeah, it can predict things, but that doesn't mean it's going to work. Most times it won't.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. And I feel like you answered it right. It's like where you're like, I'm sure an AI could predict a synthesis, whether it works that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And that was something that some groups I know at A&M were working on. They were trying their goal, because I worked with like redox molecules and redox polymers. Their goal was these to try and get like a machine. I'm gonna mess it up, but it was like a machine learning type deal. To get like to target synthetic molecule to make synthetic targets for synthetic chemists because and their goal was to reduce they said like estimated failure rate of like 90% of experiments, and their
Hmm.
goal was to reduce it to 85%, like so even if you had
Yeah.
this AI you're only reducing it to 50 yeah. I don't really think people realize like how much I don't know about you, but I've had literature synthesis that I couldn't recreate on the first try, and that's
Yeah,
like
no,
published
same.
yeah.
Yeah. Usually it's from the 80s, so that might have something to do with it, but
Yeah, or there's some I don't know some stuff that I just don't I just can't I was never able to recreate or again, and if you're doing total synthesis, so I'm sure you understand this or you've run into this, but sometimes you'll do something that's like, oh, this should be such a simple step. There's like I have like 50 papers right here of different variations and stuff as to why this works. And then you get it to
Mhm.
your thing and it doesn't work, or you have to tweak it a ton. And so you're
Yeah.
right, it really is, not like, I'm sure maybe I don't know. I have weird feelings about AI about a lot of things, but I'm sure maybe one day. But I think you're right. At the end of the day, you're still going to need people on the ground actually doing it and figuring it out. Because like
Yeah.
well, why did this work? Why didn't this work? Well, we never know why it doesn't work until we got it to work, and then
Yeah. And I don't know if you've like tried asking AI a lot of like organic questions of like how things work or like mechanisms, but it doesn't do a great job of explaining that yet. So I think we're secure.
yeah, no, I remember I was asking someone, I was like talking to someone about like a electrophilic like aromatic substitution problem and like directing groups, and we were kind of talking about like which one we thought would be like the major contributor and like the competing groups. And I'm like, let's ask Chat GPT. Like, what does it think? And it kept like trying to add like 5 bonds to a carbon. And I was like, and I would say to, I was like, you just added this at this, and then they go, oh, you're right. Thanks for catching that. And then like spit it out again. I'm like, again, you just put 5 bonds on a carbon. I think we're pretty safe.
Yeah. Yeah, we've
Uh,
noticed that like if you give it an explanation for something, it'll go with that. But then if you're like, oh wait, actually blah blah blah, then it'll switch to like agreeing with your second option. And so
yeah,
yeah, not very
it's very,
reliable.
it's a very, what's the word? It's very suggestible, you know.
Yes, yeah.
Um, yeah. So, well, yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad to talk to more synthetic. So you're doing these total syntheses, I guess. Do you do a lot of like air-free chemistry, I guess? I think you do, right? On your page.
Yeah. Sometimes not all of my reactions are like that, but some of them, yeah.
Do you want to, I guess, tell how do you feel about air-free chemistry? Because if it like so if it's just like, oh, I put it under nitrogen, I don't care. But I used to be like, if I had to be like really special with it, I'd be like, oh my God, I would like be dreading it for like days coming. I'm like, I gotta do this thing. I was like, I swear to God, like,
Yeah, I feel like I've gotten a lot more comfortable with it now that I like do it more often, and have gotten like further along in my PhD. But I remember like the first time in like my first year setting up a reaction like that, I was like terrified. And I don't know, I don't know how you like flame dry or if you like keep it in the oven or what you do, but we always like flame dry our stuff with a Bunsen burner. And I remember like the first time I was using that, I was like, we're making fire in lab. Like this doesn't seem okay. um yeah, and I feel like it used to take me like a really long time to like set things up because you have to like purge all your needles and make sure everything's under vacuum before you dissolve it in anhydrous solutions and then add it in and stuff. But yeah, so
yeah, I agree. It was the first time I did it, I was like really. Then by the end, I was a lot better. I used to flame dry stuff, especially certain reactions. I would get like really superstitious about, and I would like flame dry them even if they didn't need to like be like air free
yeah.
or anything. I would just flame dry it. But again, I think this might be something like certain reactions, like air free is like a general term. Like certain reactions are much more air sensitive than others. Like some are like
Mhm.
there's like, oh, it's like air sensitive. Then there's like it's air sensitive, like you're gonna blow up your hood. Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, I don't do anything like that's that crazy, but
Yeah, no, me neither. But I know I had one friend. He was doing. Forget if it was Raft or like ATRP, but his need he was trying to like control like get like very discrete control of like the chain length, and so his needed to be like very air free. And I asked
Mhm.
another guy in our lab who was doing Raft for doing like interfacial like polymerizations and emulsions, and he's like, "How do you keep the air out?" He's like, "I don't keep the air out." He's like, "I just throw it in there." And he's like, "What?"
Funny.
But yeah, so anyone watching, synthetic chemistry is a ton of fun. It's very gratifying when it works, but it doesn't work a lot, and
Yes.
it takes a certain. That's why I always joke. I was like, synthetic chemists are people who like pain, whether they admit it or not.
True.
Yeah. So it's, talking about synthetic chemists who like pain. What made you want to pursue a PhD in general, and then specifically in organic chemistry?
Yeah, so like growing up, my dream was like I'm gonna go to Iowa State and I'm gonna be a chemical engineer. Well, I like toured it and everything and realized that I didn't want to do engineering. I didn't want to sit in a factory my whole life and just kind of run what other people were telling me to do.
Hmm.
Um, and so my dad's actually an organic chemist, and he was kind of a lot of my inspiration of why to go into chemistry in the first place. So he works, or well, he just retired from 3M. So I got
Oh.
to, meet a lot of his friends and like see what they do and a lot of polymers. But my dad wasn't a polymer chemist. So he got his start in pharmaceuticals. So I was kind of interested in that too. But when I was in my undergrad, I was deciding if I wanted to do like pharmacy or if I wanted to keep going, get my PhD in chemistry. And so I spent a summer where I worked as a pharmacy technician. Absolutely hated it. Realized pharmacy is not for me. It's I really liked the aspect of working in like healthcare, but I didn't like the like patient interactions. It was just people are like very intense when it comes to their healthcare. And if they had like a certain price in mind for their prescription that you didn't tell them, they'd like start arguing with you. And it's like, sorry, like I can't control the price. Like that's with your insurance, not me. So it'd be like a lot of displaced anger, like would be put
Hmm.
on you, and that was a lot to handle, especially as like a 21-year-old. And one time, actually no, I was only 20 at the time, and some guy, like, we didn't have his prescription ready for him, and he got so angry he literally threw his credit card at me and then just started like going off and yelling. And so I grew up in the Twin Cities, so we're in a like very high volume place where we have, many people coming to get their prescriptions there. And it was like crazy that I'd start in the morning at 8 a.m. and see we'd have like 500 prescriptions we need to fill that day. But the numbers just keep increasing as the day goes on. So it was just a lot, and realized that that was not for me. But I did really enjoy learning about all of the medications. Like that's something that I would do for fun on the side or like on my breaks. I'd be like, okay, a lot of people have been picking up this prescription today. What is this one? And so I was like really interested in like what the molecular structure was, how like it worked in the body and like what it did. So learning about all those medications was a lot of fun. And then I like quickly realized that I'm more interested in how they develop the drug. And so that's when I was like, okay, I'm interested in organic chemistry and want to pursue that. And I mean, you can get a job in pharmacy or like at a pharmaceutical company right out of undergrad. But I feel like it's better to go to grad school in those instances, so that you can like get more of an understanding of organic chemistry and how the workflow goes, and
Hmm.
to kind of set yourself up better for like a good career. And so that's why I decided to go to grad school in organic chemistry. And yeah, so that's my hope, is to work for a pharmaceutical company. I'm still interested in being a professor, but I think I'm in the trenches of grad school. I need like a little break from academia before I consider that. So yeah,
No,
we'll
I
see.
think that's totally valid. I know. Yeah, I think well, something people, even if you like you say you knew you wanted to be academic, you might flip flop back and forth depending on where you're at in grad school. But yeah, towards the end, I remember I was like, I had a great advisor and she was awesome and I really liked her. But even towards the end, I just wanted to be done with it because I was like, I'm so over all this. Like, let me leave, please. But that's yeah, you'll see. But even I know some people do like industry and then go back to academia. And I was all so I came in, I knew I wanted to go to research or not research, like industry, because I was like, I don't want to teach.
Yeah.
Like it's just not my proclivity. And also there's like the stereotype that like not the stereotype, the reality that like a lot of professors like aren't paid like terribly well. So I was like, I like science, but I'm not here for charity. Uh,
Yeah.
but when I had to teach for my first year as part of like this was part of like your requirement, and so I didn't. I was like, actually, this wasn't that bad. was like, I actually enjoyed it kind of. I still know that I don't want to teach, but I did enjoy this.
Yeah.
And then now, as like I've gotten into like stuff on social media, I think like, maybe never like long term, but I could see like in the future, like, if I have kids, especially if they're going to college, and if I
Hmm.
teach a lecture and they get some free tuition, I could do that.
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
almost in like a pseudo retirement or something, you know what I mean? You teach like
Hmm.
one. So I feel I do like being involved in research and the like learning in the sense of just like expanding, just learning new information, not necessarily like pedagogical, however you say it, like academic in a classroom teaching, and
Yeah.
learning. So that's why I like these. But no, I totally feel you. But it's good that you have an idea of what you want to do. I just feel like I had no idea. I was like, I know I want to go to industry, and that's about it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. My
so
dad. Oh, sorry.
no, no, go ahead.
Yeah, my dad, like I said, was a big inspiration growing up. He'd always ask me like, "What problems do you want to solve?" And like use that as your direction of where you want to go in life. And so I knew I was really interested in like healthcare. And I also was like interested in, we need renewable energy and how do we make our water quality better too, especially like in third world nations where they don't have a lot of access to like technology and resources like we do. And so that was like, so I've been on quite a few mission trips to Honduras and like seeing like their lack of health care and access to clean water, that was like a big driving force for me. So I think I put in my bio, like, I want to make healthcare accessible, like, not just here in America, but also like worldwide. Like, how do we make drugs cheaper so that we
Mhm.
can give them to other places too that like really need them? So, yeah.
No, that's great. I think those are great goals. Like they're both like ambitious, but also like grounded and with a path. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's really easy to get like either too grounded and you're only looking like 50 feet in front of you, or you're like
Mhm.
so ambitious. There's like, you can't really think of a way to get there. So
Yeah.
congrats, you did like a really good job. And it seems like, your dad being like a good role model, who really helped with that. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to go back. So you said you thought you were going to, this is my next question, is how did you pick where you went for your PhD? You said you
Mhm.
thought you're like, I'm going to go to Iowa State. Like and you kind of answered it because you did this RU at K State.
Mhm.
But I guess is there any more you could say about that? Like, what was it when you were here for the RU? Was it just like the research? Was it just kind of the university, the people, or like kind of how did like what other universities did you apply to? Like, what kind of ultimately came down to your decision, major? I guess how am I saying this? What how did you get to K State? I guess it's like for real in the end, you
Yeah.
know.
Um, I will say I didn't apply to many grad school programs actually, but I did apply to a lot of like high reach schools that like are like ranked really highly, and I got waitlisted from a lot of those programs. So like that's some advice I'd have if you're going in to apply for grad school, is apply to like a wide range of ranked schools, some like far reach schools, some more in between, and then some like I guess lower ones that are more like safety backup schools that you'd still be really interested in going to. But for me, I have like looked at location of where all the schools were at, the professors, like what kind of research they had, if it seemed like they had like a good culture in the department, and I think that was kind of like my main um, thinking, but I wanted at least like three professors I was interested in at each university. I think that's like a good number just in case you like don't get your first lab of choice. There's still some others that you're interested in. So, but during the RU, I just felt like this was a very safe community here in Manhattan, Kansas. They call it the Little Apple. um, and so I made like a lot of great friends during the RU program and thought the town was really nice. But I got to know the professors all really well, and there's always like drama that happens, and I felt like the professors were very supportive in like helping you walk through that, and I just felt like a real sense of community here. And they gave me some extra scholarship money, I won't lie.
That
So,
always helps.
yeah. So it just felt like, whereas like the other schools didn't do that. And so it just like made it seem like they actually like really want me here. They care about me. They want to see me succeed. And I felt that during the RU program too. So that's kind of why I, ended up here at K State. And I'm a firm believer everything happens for a reason. And I feel like this has been a very good experience for me. I feel like at those higher, like, schools that are like really intense, I think I would have, done just fine there. But I think um, this is a better environment for me just because I feel like those places are a little too intense and a little cutthroat, and people don't always want to see other people succeed. But here at K State, I don't feel that way. And we like try to help each other out and support each other the best we can.
That's great, and that's kind of how I ended up at. Well, I'm going to be honest with you, and I've gone on the record multiple times saying this that when I picked where I wanted to go to grad school, like when I picked my schools, it was a very non-scientific process. I was living in
Mhm.
Philadelphia, and I was like, I don't want any more snowy winters. I'm moving back down south. And so, like I was stationed in North Carolina for the Army. I knew I liked living in North Carolina. So that was like, I was like, that's the northernmost I'll go is North Carolina. And I was like, I've heard of that school, that school, that school. And then it was like, and then I, and I like cross-referenced it with places that had good barbecue. It's like,
That's funny.
I did not take it. I should have taken it like so much more seriously. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Um, and so I applied to like a couple of schools in like the Raleigh Durham area.
Mhm.
Um, I think I applied to with Vanderbilt, A&M, and like one other school. But yeah, to me, A&M, it kind of came down to the culture, and then obviously the science. I felt like they were
Mhm.
doing more of the science I wanted there. But then yeah, the culture is a big thing because again, I've heard some of these bigger school or not bigger, like bigger in terms of like reputation, or
Yeah.
presence. It is kind of cutthroat, or even if it's not cutthroat, people just kind of aren't friendly.
Yeah.
And it's just I'm not, I like the joke me and my friends always had is like, I like science, also like to party. So I
Yeah.
was like, I can't be doing a science with boring people. Um, I
True.
mean, you can because some of those boring people do actually really good science, but it's just the joke. But yeah, so I think that's great. But I always tell people to like look at the whole thing. Like it seems like you really looked at you're like I have this support network here. I feel I can count on. I like the city or town. 'Cause I feel like a lot of like the big name schools, sometimes people get kind of wowed by the name and they don't. And it's
Mhm.
because they have a good reputation for a reason, but they're looking past all these other things that like maybe don't jive with what they want. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, exactly.
like whether it's cost of living or like I guess like lifestyle amenities you'd call it. Do you want like like some people like College Station or A&M is like some people that's the biggest town they've ever been to. Other people are like this is
Mhm.
like a blip on a map to me. Like where's the giant? Like what do you mean I have to drive 2 hours to the airport? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but no, that's great advice. It's funny they call it the little apple. I like that the little apple.
Yeah. That was like the joke
uh,
that when I was telling everyone, yeah, I'm moving to Manhattan. So, and then I'd be like, Kansas, not New York.
um, that's good. So, next question is how did you get started in STEM? But again, you kind of answered this a little already because you talked about your dad. So,
Mhm.
I guess I'll ask you to change it a little bit. You said you referenced your dad's like a really big influence on you getting into science, STEM, and the path you chose. Like,
Mhm.
how early on did that start? Was it kind of more as you were in like high school, or was it like kind of always as a child you've been interested in science and stuff?
Yeah, I think uh, like since childhood, elementary school. So my mom was a teacher. So she's been a great help in grad school too, of like how to TA and how to like teach a large classroom of students. So she's been really helpful in that aspect too. But so she like really tried hard growing when I was growing up to get me into all these like camps and experience what all these different fields are like. And so she had a lot of connections, which was really great. And so I got to do a lot of camps like at the University of Minnesota and at another university, St. Thomas, which is in St. Paul as well. And so I just remember like those experiences as a little kid. They were so much fun. And the one at St. Thomas, I'm blanking on what the name of the camp was, but I feel like it was like steps or something. But we got to like build our own airplane. And then the big thing was that we got to go out and fly them, and like our parents were there. And so that was so cool.
Yeah.
And then I did it again, but that one was like a, excuse me, it was like a fashion one, but it was like integrating technology into fashion. So we made like these headbands that had like lights in them, and they'd like light up. And I don't remember all the other things, but we did like 3D printing and other stuff. And then this other camp that I did was like probably the biggest one that had an impact on me. Um, it was like Mission to Mars, Starbase. Yeah, it was Starbase, Mission to Mars. And so that was just like the coolest thing ever because we got to go on base and we got to like learn about how they build rockets, how they like build rocket or make rocket fuel, and how they like transport the rocket to the launch pad. How does the whole launch work? And we got to like 3D print our own rockets that we made. And so everyone had to have a science name. So I was Rocket Rice, which I even used that in my like essay for grad school. But that I think was like the most instrumental camp that I was a part of because it like I just remember being in awe like the whole time of like learning about the rovers that they make and how they control them and how they bring like samples back to Earth and all this stuff. I was like so amazed. And so I do still have a deep passion for space. Don't know how I'll use that in the future, but I think that's where I got this idea of I wanted to be an astronaut. And then I was interested in like chemical engineering because I wanted to work on rocket fuel and work for NASA. But, ideas change. um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I think a lot of that just has to do with like the environment I grew up in. And my parents were a huge support not just now, but like my whole life. And they, wanted me to succeed. And so they'd sign me up for all these different things to get me exposed. And so, yeah, I owe it a lot to my parents. They did a great job, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it sounds definitely like they did. That's awesome. And that's kind of what I hear from everyone. They're interested at some young age and yeah, they got involved in something, no matter where they were. I know for me, you talk about like the interactive stuff. I never went to like science camps per se that I remember, but in Philadelphia, there's the Franklin Institute, which is like it's for all ages, but it's sort of geared a little more towards like young children because it's like an interactive science like museum. And so I
Yeah.
loved that. And then they would have like the rotating exhibit. So I credit that with like how I got into it. But yeah,
Hmm.
those camps are really cool. And I remember like all like watching all the stuff on Discovery Channel about space and all that was so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I would never go to space. It sounds really cool. Space sounds cool, but I feel like it would actually freak me out to go to space. I'm gonna stay
Yeah.
here. Um,
I think it'd be so cool. I have this joke, but it's also not really a joke. They always ask, like, would you be one of the first people to go to Mars and stuff? And I've always like joked with my friends that if I'm still single by the time I'm 30, I'm going to Mars.
I still think I'm going to Mars.
Yeah. So I just think it'd be cool. I mean, I know you'd be like leaving behind like a lot of family and friends and
Mhm.
probably wouldn't come back. But think about you're like the first person going there and exploring a new planet and figuring out how if people could live there or not. I think that's so cool. So Yeah.
Yeah, that is no, and I think it is. I just don't know it. And like maybe when I was younger, I would have said that. It's just now I'm a little older and a little more complacent in my life.
Yeah.
Like have a family and stuff. But yeah, like at the time, it's like I see like there's memes online. It's like born too late to explore the world, born too early to explore the stars. You know,
Yeah.
so I'll just it's like, and then it's like born just in time for inflation. There's some or like some whatever bad thing is currently happening. Um, but yeah, yeah, space is cool. I used to be like a nervous flyer even, so I can't
Oh,
imagine getting on
really?
a spaceship. Yeah, which is wild because and when I was in the army, I was a paratrooper, so I got like 20 jumps. But I used to just get like really. I wasn't like wildly nervous. Like I wasn't like one of those people that needed like medicine, but I would always just get like a little like yeah, you know. But
Yeah.
now I fly a lot now, so now I'm just it's like a sky Uber to me now. I just fall asleep. um, but so speaking about like kind of all your stuff together, if someone wanted to get involved in STEM right now, like say they're like kind of like senior in college or they're maybe like midway through, I'm not senior in college, sorry, senior in high school, or like midway through college, and they're looking at either like undergrad science degree or like they want to maybe look at grad school. What kind of advice would you have for them if they want to get involved in that?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to think.
No, it's all right.
I mean, I think the biggest thing, like, that I have advice for everyone is just ask questions. Like, you're not going to learn anything or advance in some way if you don't ask questions or you don't ask for help. And so I think, people love to talk about themselves. They love to talk about their research. So I think it just the first thing, if you're like interested in exploring what that life could look like, is just ask someone what they do and how they got involved and um, what's like interesting to them. People love to talk, like I said. So and they love. I mean, at the end of the day, I think everyone wants to see like people do well and succeed. So I don't think anyone would ever say like no to helping you. I mean, maybe if they're really mean, but
Yeah.
yeah. And I think like look for internships. I mean, that's how I got interested in K-State. I think our U programs are amazing. It's 10 weeks of research, and you can see if you like that field, if you don't
Mhm.
like that field. But also, while you're there, you can see all the other research that's happening at the university and see what really piques your interest. Um, so that's my advice, I guess. I don't know if that's like super great, but ask questions and be curious. I think that's like the driving force of science is curiosity, and just asking questions can, yeah. So
No, that's great advice. Ask questions, especially because when you're that young, you don't know, and it might feel like everyone else knows but you. But if you have a question, I guarantee there's probably like 10 other people in your grade level that also have the same question. So
exactly.
yeah, and then you're right. You can't lose that questioning mindset. The question becomes framed a little different because it's not like, well, how do I apply to grad school? But it's more like conceptual,
Mhm.
like, well, what have we thought of this? What is it? But
Yeah.
and it's not like you're questioning someone's research or questioning someone because you're trying to like get them. Although people do that, and it annoys me. But it's usually just like, why? I thought your research was really interesting. Have you thought of this?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, So I guess speaking of that, you like asking questions and what would you say the biggest challenge you've had as a scientist is? And that can be at any level of your career.
Um, hmm. Hmm. I think the biggest thing is just trusting myself. I don't know if you experienced, but imposter syndrome is real,
Mhm.
um, especially in grad school. But I feel like I'm learning to do that now better than like when I was the first year. I was so scared. I was like, if a professor asks questions, I was like, I'm not going to answer because like what if I'm wrng? And like I don't want these people to think I'm like stupid. And so then I like realized, I actually do know all this stuff. Like I do know the answer to these questions, and my PI, he's been really great about trying to teach me to trust myself more. And so I feel like I've gotten a lot better at that. And now I'm not like quiet. I like answer questions in like group meeting and mechanism meetings. And I'll be like one of the first people to go to the board to try and like work out a mechanism that we're talking about. And so I think that's also another piece of advice is just to like even if you don't know like the answer, still give it a try, because you probably know a lot more than you think you do. I think our brains are like our own worst enemy sometimes of like self sabotage in that aspect. So yeah, I think that's been like the hardest thing is just learning to trust myself.
Yeah, I think that's something that I struggled with a lot too. And you're right, like I think everyone deals with imposter syndrome at some point to some degree, and it can come and go. Just because you got through it doesn't mean it won't come back again in another area. And I think that is really tough to. I think it's tough because you're also surrounded. You're in like somewhat insular community of people that are all there for the same reason as you that have a relatively similar knowledge base as you. So to you, the things you know don't seem that special. Um,
Yeah.
so, but then you go to talk to someone else in like a totally different field, and they're like, "Oh, I have no idea. That's so cool. I didn't know you know so much." And you're like, really kind of. But and I think to me those are like confidence building moments. But I
Yeah,
think
definitely.
that's and imposter syndrome is one of those things that even if you know it's coming, it doesn't help you. Like,
Yeah.
um, but no, that's great advice. And so I guess and you're doing really good at like answering my next question almost. All but the next one would be if you could go back in time to like day one, what's like a piece of advice you would tell yourself when starting your PhD, or like a piece of advice you wish someone had told you?
Um, yeah, I think trusting yourself is like a big one I tell myself. And also, like, like I said, there's always drama. I think I tell myself to just like cancel out all that noise. It doesn't matter. Just like focus on your research, go in, do the best job you can. And like, um, I don't know, ask a lot of questions and trust yourself. You got this. Like you wouldn't be here if they didn't think you could do well. So, yeah, I think that's just the main thing is to trust yourself more. Like you got this. um, yeah.
Great advice, yeah. So last little bit, I guess I want to ask, so like how you got your stuff on social media. So how did you get into posting on social media?
Yeah, my dad actually gave me the idea.
Really?
It's like, oh, you should make an Instagram and like document your PhD. So I actually started it like a long time ago, during like when I first joined a research lab, which would have been January 2023. But I was like posting just like random pictures of like, oh, set up this reaction today. And I wasn't like making reels or like posting consistently at all. And then last year around this time, I made my first like day in the life video. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And so then I made another one and I kind of featured like the undergrads that work with me and the research and TA stuff. And then it just like blew up. It got like, well, I think it blew up. It got like 50,000 views. And I was like, whoa, what? I was like, that's crazy. And so then I was like, wait, this is kind of fun. And so then I just started posting like a lot more consistently. And it's kind of crazy to think that like last year at this time I had like 200 followers on my Meg the Chemist Instagram, and now I have over 7,000 followers. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's 1,000 people are like following me. But I think it's been like just so cool, just to see like people's reactions of like, oh wow, this is so cool, or I'm so interested in this. And I've gotten like a lot of DMs about like asking for advice on how to get into grad school, how to apply. And so I've been able to have like, texting conversations and even some phone calls with people of like giving them advice. And I really, I want to see like everyone rise together. So it's been really fun to like give advice in that aspect and be like a source of encouragement for someone, even though I don't even know who they are, just some person that found my page. Um, so yeah, that's been a lot of fun. And I think it's like also really important to like science communication is so important, and I feel like as scientists sometimes we like do a really great job of communicating with other scientists, but we don't do a great job of like communicating with the rest of the public of like explaining our research and why it's important and what we're doing and how that will impact them in the future. And so learning how to like do that better is really great too. And excuse me, also like just as a woman in science, there's I feel like having that representation is really great too, and especially a woman in organic chemistry because there's not a lot of women organic chemists. Actually there's like a study that the number of women in organic chemistry is actually decreasing, which I don't know why that is. And so it is a super male dominated field. And I think that's important to have like representation that women can do this too, even though it's like very male dominated. We still like have a lot of values and ideas that we can offer to help, promote chemistry and come up with new things. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yes, a lot people reach out to me, but my stuff is like focused specifically on like lecture organic chemistry. Now I'm branching out into other things. But yeah, I get a lot of DMs from people like, dude, I'm failing my class. Can you help me? And it's just,
Yeah.
and to me, it's so interesting because like I'm older because I did like time in the army before getting my degrees. So like my mindset is still like a little older. So to me, I'm like, why are people reaching out to me, a stranger on the internet, about this? And I forget, to be honest, why I started it, but like my page. But like at first, like, or not at first, but like eventually I realized like this is just where like this like the generation that's getting currently educated like lives. They live online now. Like, this is where they hang out essentially. So this just seems natural to them for them to get here. That's like kind of like you got to meet people where they're at type deal.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I think it's also, by the way, for you to 50,000 views or whatever, that's huge. I remember the first time I got 500 views on one of my things, I was like, oh, I got so many. I got 500. Yeah, but it's really been interesting, and I've gotten to meet great people, like people like you. Just and it's so interesting, like how much of an actual community there is for people that like you've never actually met, other than just like
Yeah,
maybe
definitely.
talking to them in comments or something.
Hmm.
Um, but that's great. Do you ever have any? Does it ever get stressful doing it? Because I don't know about you, but when I started doing this, I was like, how much work could this be? Just like record some stuff, throw it on the internet, and I'm like, wow, this is like way more work than I thought it would be.
Um, I think sometimes I'm like, because I try to post like at least once to three times a week, and sometimes like coming up with like ideas that aren't just day in the life videos. It's like, what should I do? But that's like been another thing is some people have like asked me like, oh, how do you do this in lab? How do you do that in lab? So that's been like a great like source of ideas. Which is also, ask more questions. So yeah. But yeah, sometimes it does get, I guess, a little stressful or like, oh, what should I do? But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's tough. It can be tough. You're like, oh, what do I do? How many times do I? But I think what's good about doing those life in the video or not life in the day videos, it's obviously you're teaching people about science, but also
Mhm.
like you're building like a personal brand as Meg the chemist at the same time. So it's
Yeah.
like even as you go on, if no matter what you do, like people, yes, they were there for the science, but they're there for you as well. So
Mhm.
so I think that's why like they kind of like your day and the life. So also those technique things are good. But also, I don't know if you've noticed this. But if you ever make a mistake in any of your videos about like talking about science, or there's something that's like even like a slightly debated topic, you're gonna find the one person that like feels the other way about it, and they're in your comments instantly.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I remember one time I made a post about like the chemistry behind Thanksgiving, and someone I had like a mechanism on there, and someone was in my comments and they were like, "You have your arrows wrong in your mechanism." And I was like, "What?" Like I know I looked through that and double checked it. Well, there was like one arrow that I forgot to erase, and I was like, they found the one mistake that I had, and I was like, "Oh man, someone always has to ruin it."
No, and it's part of it is just like so I don't know, like almost all of the mistakes I've made in my videos are because I was rushing, or I felt this
Mhm.
pressure to put a video out, and I was like, oh, I gotta get it's yeah, I pushed it out, and it's almost always where my mistakes come from, or sometimes just like yeah, I was like because I used to do it on my iPad and I would draw and like screen
Yeah.
record, and like yeah, I forget an arrow somewhere, or or someone didn't like the arrows curvy enough. There's something, and I was like, how do you? I've run into it where I think some people just like to correct other people and they get their self-worth from that. Because I've also
Yeah.
had other people that are like, hey, like great video. I think your one arrow might have been wrong, but like great job explaining it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so like those people I love. And
Yeah.
yeah, but I know when I first started, there were some people that like left comments and I was like, and the worst is when they were wrong. I'm like, you're wrong. You're so confidently wrong. And it used to really frustrate me. But I used to talk, I don't know, the one guy on TikTok, that black chemist.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I told him about it, and I asked if he dealt with it because he used to get a lot, have like these hot take posts. I was like, how do you not let this get you? And he
Mhm.
was like, he's like, sometimes I am wrong, and I just admit that I'm wrong. But also, he's like, even if someone makes a rude comment on your post, or even if you make a mistake, he's like, for every one person that makes a nasty comment, he's like, I guarantee there's at least 10 people out there that really helped, like, liked your video and it helped them and they
Yeah.
just didn't comment. He's like, keep going, man. Like, you got this. And so,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
that's what I try to tell myself. For now, what I do, if someone points out a mistake, I'm like, oh, wow, you're right. Great catch, man. Good job. And
Mhm.
I just leave it at
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah,
so,
that's also like when I was saying like, all that other noise doesn't matter, just like keep doing what you're doing for my advice. So, yeah. But any engagement's good engagement, so
yeah, hey, yeah, there's no such thing as bad press. Or
yeah.
do you think, do you, do you think that, I guess speaking of science communication and like kind of the social media age, do you think that that will start to become like almost more of a job at like universities or like or institutions like ACS or something that's almost like a full-time job, do you think?
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. I know so we hosted an RU again this summer, and I had a role of making some content with what they were doing. So, yeah, I definitely think that because I know like ACS is starting to do a lot more like interview videos at conferences and stuff like that too. And we're hosting the Midwest ACS conference here too. And so my PI was asking me about like what kind of tripod should I buy? Like
Yeah.
what microphones are good and like so we can record videos. So I definitely see that becoming more of a bigger, larger role. Especially because like a lot of like if you look at the ACS page now or like other branches of the ACS, like the WCC, they just post a lot of like stock photos. And it's like, well, no one's gonna really engage with that because it's not very personable and I don't know, it's not very exciting. So I
Yeah.
think we're starting to realize that now more that you need more like videos and like actual people. And so I do see that becoming a lot larger role and I feel like they're starting to realize that more now too. Especially since like the people that organize that are definitely a lot older than us and they may not be as like versed in social
Mhm.
media or like that aspect of things.
Yeah, I think it's especially like so when I started, like one of the reasons I did it on TikTok first is because like no one I knew was on TikTok, and I kind of like didn't want anyone to see it, and that was like almost like a safety, like not safety, but like it made me feel more comfortable to do it, and also it took me like almost a year to show my face.
Hmm.
Um, but like because it was I feel like like stuff like this until relatively recently has still been thought of as like kind of like non serious work or not even work, it's a non serious endeavor. Um,
Yeah.
and now with people getting younger, they grow up online on social media. This is how they consume so much knowledge and just anything. It's becoming more of a legitimate way to communicate and get engagement, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be shit. Like, I don't know if there's ever going to be like the true influencer. Like my friends would joke, like, like we're going to take, like, we would joke in lab, like take the pictures and like, when I'm in lab, I only use Thermo Fisher brand glassware. Use link in my bio for 10% off. Like, I don't know if we'll ever see people like
Yeah.
that, you know? Like but I could see, like ACS using personality, like even like you like, hey, we're gonna bring out some people and they're gonna go around just doing interview videos at ACS, or I'm here
Hmm.
with like for like I was in poly PIMSy. So like hey, if you see me and you want to know about like poly PIMSy division at ACS, come find me. We're gonna be doing interviews, we're gonna talk to people after their I could see that becoming like more of a more like a legitimate thing because
Yeah.
in 20 years you're gonna have a student that has never not known social media like this.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. Hopefully I'll see you out there one day. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
But Megan, I don't want to take up any more of your time. Thank you so much for doing this already. Everybody,
Yeah,
this is
it's been
Megan
fun.
Rice. She's an organic chemistry PhD at K-State. And and she's on TikTok. She's organic. It's at Meg the Chemist. I can put it in the bio.
So my TikTok is I started it before I did chemistry stuff. So my
Oh,
TikTok
okay.
is Megan Rice 98, but my
Okay, never
Instagram
mind.
is Meg underscore the chemist.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll make sure
Yeah.
I put them in the bio so everyone can get them. That's yeah, Meg the Chemist, also Meg Rice 98 on Instagram.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Megan. I really appreciate you being
Yeah.
here.
Thanks. I appreciate it too. It's been fun.